So the Marvels trailer came out today, and big shocker, people did not like it. You would think after the first Captain Marvel movie and how wildly successful it was in the box office and with audiences at the same time, that this movie would be getting an insurmountable amount of praise, but it turns out that that is just not the case. Hope you're all having a good day. We're going to get into this article from Bounding Into Comics, and the title reads, "The Marvels trailer doubles down on quirky MCU humor. Reveals another gender-swapped MCU villain." That's right. It wasn't enough that we got a female-swapped Taskmaster in Black Widow, which was probably the biggest disappointment for me, because I love Taskmaster as a villain, but they decided that they were just going to make Taskmaster into Black Widow's former mentor, something stupid like that. And they did the same thing in Ant-Man 2 by gender-swapping one of the villains from the comic books that Ant-Man fights. And now they're doing the same thing here, and it will be a villain that you actually don't expect, and it's really interesting. Check this out. Marvel Studios released their first teaser trailer for the upcoming The Marvels film, and it is front-loaded with more of the production company's quirky humor that moviegoers have finally begun to reject. Yeah, even I am getting tired of the constant jokes and gags. I know that they were rewriting Ant-Man 3 a little bit because they just didn't think that it was funny enough. They thought it was too serious. I know, right? Who in the world wants a serious Marvel movie? All we want to do is just laugh the whole time, right? Yeah, obviously. And then you have Kamala Khan here. The trailer introduces an odd mechanic that sees Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, Tiana Paris's Captain Monica Rambeau, and Iman Vellani's Miss Marvel swapping physical locations, literally swapping physical locations. Their power is the power of race swapping. That's amazing. They put it in this movie as an ability. But they're swapping physical locations with each other when they activate their abilities after Rambeau enters a wormhole. This mechanic is the basis of the quirky humor, as the characters have various reactions when they are transported to each other's different locations. And I actually watched the trailer, and every time that Captain Marvel is swapped out with Kamala Khan, she's like, "Not again!" And then Kamala Khan shows up wherever she is, and she's like, "Whoa, this thing is like totally happening. I'm just freaking out about it," because she's a teenager. And it just looks as generic as anything else that you would expect from the tired and tried and dead Marvel formula at this point. But we actually have the trailer here, and it even says, "Changes everything and changes everyone." Just everyone's changing. It's promoting just race swapping and all this other stuff. They have the villain in this as well, but I think there's actually a screenshot of her below. But this movie it looks mid. It just looks mid. And after all of the movies that Marvel have released up to Endgame, Phase 4 and Phase 5 have been a complete disappointment, and now they're coming out and saying, "Well, we know that you guys are really tired of the old BS that we keep giving you, so now we're going to make a movie where the characters swap places with each other." Whoa! Yeah. Anyway, let's read on. It's unclear how long these gags will last in the actual film, as the teaser trailer shows the trio do eventually get to the same location, removing the opportunities for the insertion of this quirky humor that the trailer front loads. It's quite likely they'll do some kind of training together where they can activate their powers and quickly teleport to each other's locations to perform Dragon Ball style combinations. It actually does show that in the trailer, I believe, near the end. They do some kind, I think this is actually a training montage. Yeah. It's a training montage. It just has to be. We got to actually work together, ladies, okay? We got to stop switching places, and we have to become one. We have to combine our powers and be better to defeat the evil woman villain. And that is right. We do get a woman villain, and we're going to get to that in just a second. But of course, you have Monica Rambeau here, the woman from the WandaVision show that told Wanda that it was completely okay that she brainwashed and enslaved an entire town psychically. She's like, "They'll never understand what you did for them." And what she did for them was cause them at least 20 years of psychological trauma. But of course, in Monica Rambeau's mind, that's completely fine, which is why Nick Fury hired her. Of course, it makes complete sense. Along with the trailer, we did get an official description for the film that reveals the wormhole is connected to a Kree revolutionary. In fact, the trailer appears to show a woman wielding a very similar hammer to the one Ronan wielded in the first Guardians of the Galaxy film. She's also surrounded by other Kree soldiers. And look, Basically, it's just gender swapped Ronan the Accuser. From what I'm seeing, she's not a Kree like the rest of them, or maybe she is, but she's literally using a hammer that looks just like Ronan the Accuser's, and she's in charge of this big squadron of Kree. And apparently it's her fault that the ladies, okay, the Marvels, get their little wormhole swapping powers. So it's all thanks to the villain that your messaging of gender swapping and race swapping on the fly is such a huge thing in this movie. Now, of course, this isn't actually a gender swapped Ronan the Accuser. It's a villain from the comic books, actually. It's revealed this woman is actually a gender swapped version of the obscure Kree character Dar-Ben, who in the comics plotted with General Aeldan to assassinate the current ruler of the Kree, Clumsy Foul-Up. I think it's Foul-Up or Fool-Up, but I'm going to say Foul-Up. Sorry that I don't know who that is. And take control of the Empire with an android version of Silver Surfer that would be used to place the blame on the Skrulls back in 1991's Silver Surfer number 53. And it actually shows pictures from a couple of panels from the comic books showing who this villain is. And he's been gender swapped into this lady up here. I mean, can't you tell? Can't you tell the similarities? They look exactly the same, right? I mean, you can tell that this is the perfect incarnation of what a gender swapped version of this person would look like. And I do appreciate Bounding Into Comics' informative take on this and showing us exactly who has been gender swapped, because they've done this before. Marvel has done this before. They did this in Ant-Man 2, and they did this in they didn't do it in Ant-Man 3. I just said what the movie that they did it for. Oh yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder. They gave us female Thor. They did that. Oh, and if you remember, they also made the Ancient One from Doctor Strange into a female. They made her Tilda Swinton, and I think the Ancient One used to be like this old Chinese guy, if I remember correctly from the comic books. But they gender swapped him, and I think it was the left that actually got really mad at that. The mainstream media was really mad at that back then. They're like, "Why are you whitewashing the Ancient One?" It's funny how the tables have turned, because now they're just gender swapping everybody, and without any kind of apology. They don't care at all. They're just doing whatever they want at this point. But let's scroll down just a little bit more. I think, okay, here we go. Their plot would be highly successful as the Silver Surfer assassinated Clumsy Foul-Up, and Generals Dar-Ben and Aeldan took control of the Kree Empire, and with their first act instituted martial law. So this villain is apparently formidable in the comic books, but I've never heard of this villain before. And if anybody hasn't heard of this villain before and might be interested in it, they're probably going to be disappointed, since they've just gender swapped, and because of that, likely personality swapped this person 100%. So the heroes of this movie are women. The villain of this movie is a villain. And I just remembered the other one that was gender swapped, and I just mentioned it before, but it was the Black Widow villain, Taskmaster, which was, again, so disappointing. I love Taskmaster. What a wasted potential of a character. The official description reads, in Marvel Studios' The Marvels, Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, has reclaimed her identity from the tyrannical Kree and taken revenge on the Supreme Intelligence. But unintended consequences see Carol shouldering the burden of a destabilized universe. It continues, when her duty... Oh, well, by the way, it says Carol is shouldering the burden. She's shouldering the burden, not the entire universe that got blipped by Thanos, okay? It continues, when her duties send her to an anomalous wormhole linked to a Kree revolutionary, her powers become entangled with that of Jersey City superfan Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, and Carol's estranged niece, now Saber, astronaut Captain Monica Rambeau. Together, this unlikely trio must team up and learn to work in concert to save the universe as the Marvels. And it shows right here that Kamala Khan, this is actually in the trailer, she gets switched out with Captain Marvel, and she appears here next to the cat that has a squid mouth and eats a bunch of people. It freaks her out. And Kamala Khan, of course, if you did not watch the show by chance on Disney Plus, her powers of stretching, I guess they thought that she was copying off of Mr. Fantastic too much, decided to give her crystalline powers, which I thought were kind of silly. But, you know, it is what it is, and now she's going to be alongside Monica Rambeau and Captain Marvel. The film not only stars Larson, Paris, and Villani, but also Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, which I think is something important to note about this trailer. I feel like without Nick Fury, this trailer just would not be popular, and the movie probably would not be interesting to most people. people go to see these movies when they see Nick Fury in them, or when they see a classic Avenger in them. It's the same reason that they put Wonder Woman at the end of Shazam 2, because they were hoping that that would bring in more people if they knew that Wonder Woman was going to be in there. The same reason that they would put Superman in there if they could, because, you know, popular superhero named characters, they get the attention and they get people seated and they get tickets sold. But I mean, honestly, without Nick Fury in this trailer, would anybody see it? Would anybody be interested at all? Or are they just going to see how Nick Fury interacts with the women and how the women interact with Nick Fury, considering all of the anti-men bias that has been going on in Marvel the last few years? The film arrives in theaters on November 10th. So if you if it just so happens that another more interesting movie comes out, I'll probably be going to see that instead. And then you have the poster. Oh, the poster that people have been making fun of on Twitter in a bunch of different ways. I swear people are just absolutely hilarious on Twitter sometimes, even though most of the time they're kind of crazy. But this trailer overall, it just looks, I mean, it looked mid in general. And I honestly was like, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I totally did not see this villain right here. I mean, really, Ronan the Accuser's hammer. That's what I'm talking about. You know, they're like, oh, it's Ronan the Accuser's hammer. Like, maybe she's interesting and related to him in some kind of a way. I mean, clearly she's not. She's just a gender-swapped version of a different villain, although it would be hilarious if she was literally Ronan the Accuser gender-swapped. But, I mean, it just goes to show they're just running out of ideas up at Marvel. They just don't have anything interesting to say anymore. They don't have any interesting villains. They think that race swapping and gender swapping everybody is like the biggest thing since Schindler's List. It's just ridiculous. But here you have it. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like and share. And if you guys want to see more of my content, consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell so that you don't miss a thing. I hope to see you all again next time. Have a nice day.